Project Moon. Oh, how I love you. One of the best video game companies of all time. From Lobotomy Corporation to Library of Runa and now Olympus Company, there hasn't been a single game they've missed the mark on. Now I say all this, but to be honest, I've never really played any of their other games besides Olympus Company, despite me owning all of them. I know I should have probably played at least a bit of their games before making this video, but I had so much fun playing this Roblox game that I just couldn't hold out any longer, and I needed to share this absolute gem of a game with all of you. The game is called Tawontu's Lobotomization Branches, and if you haven't already guessed by its title, it's a fan game based off Lobotomy Corporation. But before I get into the game and why I had so much fun playing it, I first need to give some background information for the people that have never heard of Lobotomy Corporation, which is understandable considering it's the first game Project Moon ever released. So Lobotomy Corporation was released in 2018, and it's pretty much the foundation of Project Moon's universe. The game is a management simulation set in a dystopian world where you run a facility that houses mysterious and sometimes dangerous creatures called abnormalities. Your job is to manage these creatures, make sure nothing goes wrong, and try to keep your employees alive in the process. But it isn't as simple as just keeping things in order. The deeper you get into the game, the harder and more complex the game becomes. It blends a mix of strategy and horror to create an experience that's both challenging but so interesting and addicting that you can't help yourself but to play more of it. Oh, and I'm sure by my explanation you might be wondering, this sounds a lot like SCP. Well, it is. It's heavily inspired by it, so it takes many elements from SCP but has its own unique interpretation of it that, in my opinion, makes it so much better than the SCP games. Anyway, now that you've got the rundown, let's move on to the actual game. So because this game's name is too long to say every single time, I'm just going to refer to it as TLB from now on. When you play the game, you basically have to throw out everything you know about the original because it turns everything upside down on you by adding its own unique mechanics and changing the gameplay so much that you have to pretty much relearn how to play all over again. Instead of managing the facility from a top-down perspective like in Lobotomy Corp, you're now in the shoes of the employee and your job is to survive while handling the abnormalities. This shift in perspective completely changes the dynamics of the game because you're no longer managing a group of employees, you are the employee yourself. The stakes are much higher because you're directly involved in the chaos. What I really appreciated about this change is how it gives you more of a personal experience. In the original game, you're not removed from the action per se, but it just doesn't give you the same feel. In TLB, you're in the middle of everything, trying to figure out how to deal with the creatures and keeping your character alive. Plus the fact that this game adds mechanics like parrying and dodging, it makes you feel much more involved because you aren't just managing the employees in a third-person perspective, but you have to actively engage with the threats around you. Another thing that makes the game unique are the talent cards. Yes, I know, it's straight out of Deepwoken, but nevertheless, it's still a fun addition. These cards are essentially buffs you can acquire as you level up in the game, and they add a whole new layer of strategy. As you progress, you're given the option to pick up to 4 talent cards at once, which each providing a different buff or ability that can help you survive for longer or manage the abnormalities more effectively. For example, there's a card in this game that doubles your work speed with abnormalities, making it easier for you to manage them, or a card that increases your damage the more teammates are around you. Now, while these cards are all buffs, because of the fact that you can't change your card unless you wipe your character, you need to make sure that you aren't choosing things that wouldn't exactly help you in your current situation. And yes, because you can wipe in this game, there are also lives. In TLB, you have 2 lives or 3 if you choose the card to give you an extra one, and if you lose all your lives, you wipe your progress. I really like this because the pressure to not make a mistake becomes real. You're balancing the risk and reward of managing abnormalities while trying to make sure you don't die and lose everything. It's a very high stakes feeling, and it also makes every moment you survive feel like an accomplishment. This game, in my opinion, is pretty much a direct upgrade to the original, and I never thought I would be saying this about a Roblox game, but well, here I am. The more I played TLB, the more I realized how much it takes everything that was great about the original and makes it even better. A huge difference between TLB and Lobotomy Corp is that TLB has multiplayer, which completely changes the dynamic of the game. In the original, you're managing everything by yourself and you have to juggle multiple things all at once, with it all being on your hands if something goes wrong. The multiplayer element not only adds a whole new level of excitement, but also makes the game feel more alive. You're not isolated in your challenge of having to manage the facility, but you're doing it with other people, facing the same threats and sharing the same experience. You can't just rely on yourself to fix things, you have to also rely on your teammates. And if one person messes up, it can lead the whole team failing, and maybe even some arguments might break out.
It would be fucking possible if Frost wasn't sitting there on his fucking ass doing nothing.
Who's gonna tell him?
Who's gonna tell him? Who's gonna tell him you sit on your ass doing nothing all the fucking time, Frost? Now fucking nothing there is, and we're all fucking dead.
But that's really the whole charm of it. But it doesn't just stop there. The reason why I said it's a direct upgrade is because TLB already takes a majority of the content from Lobotomy Corp and expands on it while also adding their own things such as custom abnormalities or ego equipment to make the game exciting for players who want to play Lobotomy but with added content. Now, as much as I love TLB and how much fun I had with it, no game is without its flaws. And while the game does a lot right, there are definitely a few areas where it could improve. At its core, the parry mechanic should be one of the most satisfying parts of the game. Timing your blocks, successfully countering attacks, is a great concept that works well in many games, but in this game it doesn't always work as intended. Some abnormalities either have unreadable animations or no animations at all, which makes parrying completely useless. There are times where I've tried to parry, but attacks seem to come out of nowhere or the animation is too fast for me to read. This is a bit annoying because at a certain point, me and my friends kinda just stopped trying to do it altogether because it really just wasn't worth it. If they're gonna add a parry system, then they should do it right by making it actually useful and incorporate it as a part of the game, if you get what I mean. Moving on, difficulty is another area where the game is lacking. The game does have its moments of course, but to be honest with you, that's primarily in the beginning of the game. I'd say that around day 30 is when I noticed the game wasn't as hard as it was at the start. Keep in mind that during my playthrough it was a maximum of 5 people at a time, and this game can hold I think around 30 or more players. If this game was already easy at 5 people, I can't imagine how much easier it would be in a full lobby. Some things I think that contribute to the game being easy is there being no limit on how much ego gifts you can have, which was capped in the original game. You can also basically bypass the live system because if someone does wipe, then you can just reset the day to make it so that it never happened. I did say that this game is a direct upgrade, but I think that if they were to make it harder, then they should do a cap to ego gifts and make lives more of a permanent system without being able to reset it to bypass wiping. Lastly, the game has some performance issues, especially when you reach the end game. It wasn't too much of an issue for me, but if they want to make the game more accessible to everyone, then they need to fix the issue of ego gifts being too demanding visually and somehow fix the lag that comes when you get too much floors in the facility. Again, my playthrough was only with 5 people, but this game is meant to be played with so much more. So if played normally, even if you have a high-end PC, there is without a doubt going to be major frame drops if you try to play this as intended. Anyway, besides all the issues I mentioned, there are some other things like lack of content, but obviously that's to be expected considering it's still being made, so I don't think I'll count that. But please do give this game a try if it interests you, but whatever you do, do not play this game alone. If you go into this game thinking it's friendly for solo players, then you would be completely wrong. It even says in the description that it was never meant for solo play, so trust me, don't even try it. But yeah, that pretty much wraps up this video. If you enjoyed, consider subscribing because, I don't know, why not? I can't figure out a reason today, but yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, have a great rest of your day, and bye-bye.